What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Cleveland Pulse YouTube channel. I am your host, Justin Harold, and with me, as always, my co-host, Jeff Santa. Today, we're bringing you a Browns video. Typically, we'd like to be talking the playoffs right now. The first weekend of the playoffs is about to be done with tonight's game with the Cardinals and the Rams. However, we're not in that situation this year like last year. And we're going to be doing a mock draft, a way too early mock draft as of right now, January 17th, 2022. Your Cleveland Browns sit at pick 13 in the first round with options to look over and things to be discussed. However, Jeff and I, we're going to both be using this mock draft machine that we found that we did last year. However, I think last year we discussed our picks together. We didn't do two separate ones, which we're going to be doing this time around, just to get a little bit of a more unique perspective and have a little bit of discussion between me and Jeff. Maybe we go different picks in certain rounds and with different players. So wanted to get a little bit more creative with it this year, but that's where we're at. Jeff, how are you doing?
Doing good. Make sure if you're getting involved, hit that like button and share us with your friends. We're close to that 400 subscriber goal. We've been a little bit MIA, for the past 5 days. But just not a whole lot to talk about. We got Cavs stuff tomorrow, obviously.
Yeah.
With that being super exciting, make sure you tune into that if you're a fan of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And, yeah, it's to the point where it's like almost sad. I'm excited to talk about this, but at the same time,
we're back at this point talking about the draft.
It's not even that. It's just criminal that this roster has a top 15 pick. That's what I've been telling people.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, a lot of unfortunate scenarios here, and interesting to see where some teams have multiple picks in the first round, how they shook out and all that. But the Browns are sitting at 13, and who really knows exactly what they're going to do with that first pick? I mean, obviously a lot of it is sitting and waiting for whoever is available, which we've seen Andrew Berry do 2 years in a row, hasn't traded in the first round back or ahead of anyone. So maybe we see that for a change. Maybe we see him just do what he's always done and kind of just sit and wait, take the best player available that they need at a position they need. But it'll be interesting this year. Obviously, like Jeff is alluding to, a roster that is very talented and has maybe a few holes or positions that need to be upgraded. And we sit at 13. So, Jeff, what are you thinking here?
I'm thinking it's going to be good. I'm going to try. I'm from the outset now. I'm going to try to be different than you. So okay. I think I know what you're going to do first round, and that's really all I know. I'm going to be honest. It's too early. It's right. January. You already said that, but outside of the first 2 rounds, we might have some messy picks. So
yeah, absolutely.
I am pretty well versed in the first round, for sure. The first 15 selections, but I'm seeing these people do like the full mocks, which we're going to do. And it's like, I don't know who they're taking in like the 3rd and 4th round.
Yeah. Once you get to that 4th round, you're in like no man's land and you're like, all right, best available player at this point, which I mean, it's always kind of seemed that way with Andrew Berry. You take the best available player after round 3. I think like Anthony Schwartz is one of those guys that they kind of thought was going to fill a role in a certain way. So definitely interesting thing to look at. The other part of this is that we are using like a predictive board, which means who knows like how people feel in the comments about certain players and whatever. But whatever this mock draft comes up with what teams pick who and where guys land in terms of rounds and picks and all that, it's all like, outside of the Browns picks for us, we'll have to just go with what's there and deal with it. But outside of that, can't really do anything more. I'm sure if Jeff and I really wanted to, we could do our own like first round mock draft for every team. Maybe come up with something that seems more realistic or just seems like more probable. But as of right now, we're just going to roll with this system. Jeff, I don't know if you want to share your screen to show or if we're going to do the first pick.
You want to start it up and then we can talk about it, like just actually start it and then have it go to 13 and then convene?
Yeah, sure. I'm good with that. So we're both going to do 7 rounds. I'm just going to have it on fast and then TDN's predictive board manual. So
all right, sounds good. Put on fast. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm as far as we're concerned, we're pretty sure that there's no like time limit on our pick. So I feel like we'll have enough time to discuss if we want to. I think, Jeff, we concluded that we're going to just sit at pick 13, see who's been taken, maybe have a little bit of conversation there before we make our picks, and then go from there.
Yep. So I'm in. I'm started.
All right. So I'm also started. I'm already at pick 13. Jeff, in terms of your big board, any surprises that were taken in this first round?
Yeah, really. I'm kind of shocked DeMarvin Leal's there, to be honest.
Okay.
There. I think the first 4 picks I think are correct. Actually, I think Kyle Hamilton at 3 might be a reach for a safety.
Yeah, I also have Kyle Hamilton going 3rd.
I think the 2 edges is a lock, interchangeable, regardless of who would. It don't matter. So one of them's going 1 and the other one's going 2. And I think Evan Neal is going to go before Ekwonu.
Okay. So for me, I'm looking here. There was 2 quarterbacks taken off my board, which I'm sure I have no idea how yours went in terms of that. Was there any quarterbacks taken?
Pickett at 9.
So that might screw with how Jeff was going to go with that first.
So it actually does give you different. It kind of does randomize it for you because we both use the same settings.
Yeah. I mean, I have Pickett going 9, and I have Matt Carroll going 11. 2 teams that we've considered
on my board.
Yeah, Corral for me to be here in the first round, not in the first round, but like in the first, 15 picks is kind of interesting. Again, no idea how they value these kind of things, but I'm sitting with Jordan Davis, 9, 10, 14, and 15, and Jameson Williams, which, again, I asked Jeff when this kind of gets updated. We don't really know, so I'm sure this is before Jameson Williams got hurt, but he got picked by the Giants at 7. So he was the first wide receiver taken off the board. Jeff, I'm going to lock my pick in. I'm good to share my screen. I'm going to go to my picks. So see here, I got Garrett Wilson, taking him as the second wide receiver off the board. If you guys saw our buddy Derek's video, we were in there talking mock draft and wide receiver specifically. Garrett Wilson. I'm a homer. I might be a homer. I'm interested to see comments on this video in terms of, and hopefully comments in the chat. But I did go to Ohio State. I did graduate from Ohio State, so I might have a little bit of a hard on for Garrett Wilson. But I think that it's the most logical pick in terms of what you're doing at 13. If you're sitting there at 13 and Garrett Wilson's still there, the offense, that our wide receivers did struggle quite a bit this year. We had, Odell leave halfway through the season once we let him go. And he was probably one of those guys that, even though we didn't quite make the best use out of him, he did get open at times, but we didn't get him the ball maybe. Jarvis Landry is no longer a spring chicken. Doesn't get open as often as you'd like him to down the field. And then Donovan Peoples-Jones, who I think we were all falling in love with in the beginning of the preseason, didn't really pan out like we would hope. So I think you need to go out there. You haven't drafted a round 1 wide receiver since Corey Coleman. So and that didn't work out too well for you. But I think Garrett Wilson is a phenomenal talent. I think there's a lot of, gushing to do about him. But it was interesting to see Jameson Williams come off the board first here for me. But Jeff, where did you go with this one?
Yeah, Jameson Williams is off my board as well. And Derek loves your pick in chat. And Ashton, the moderator joker, is getting involved too. He's liking the mock draft. But we're going to flex over because Jameson Williams went 11 to Washington for me. And I'm going to go this route. As I already stated, I'm going to be a little bit different. But I think this is realistic. I think DeMarvin Leal could be there at 13, and I think Andrew Berry might take him. So I'm taking DeMarvin Leal, interior defensive lineman, D tackle, first round.
And I think that makes a lot of sense because when you look at our D tackles and how they graded out by certain measures, they were probably the weakest link on our team defensively. And, they always say defense wins championships. And If you watched the San Francisco game versus Dallas this past weekend, I think you really see that that's how they kind of made it to that Super Bowl run before, and I think that's how they were going to do it again this year before a couple of their guys got hurt and injured out of that game. So I like that pick. I was surprised. Was Lindenbaum off your board?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, interesting, because that's a.
But I'd rather have a D tackle. I'd rather have Leal than Lindenbaum.
Gotcha. So,
but going along with that point, and I've seen this in the not being in the playoffs and watching playoff games gives you a good retrospective because you see teams that are in the playoffs. You got the Rams playing right now. They of course have the best defensive tackle in the league, Aaron Donald. You saw the Cincinnati game. Larry Ogunjobi has a fumble recovery, and I didn't follow, him too closely this year, besides the fact that he used to play for the Browns. But he had 7 sacks as a D tackle this year. That's huge. Furthermore, and I feel like I would have said the same thing about this last year, and I would have been wrong. And I probably did say the same thing about this last year, and I was wrong. But our defense is closer to being elite if they're not already there compared to the offense. I don't know if a first-round wide receiver gets our offense to elite status. I know that a first-round, maybe the best D tackle in the draft could get there. So it's easier just to bolster what you already have, in my opinion, especially seeing some of these teams, kind of what like Cincinnati did last year. Like they were, decent offensively. They just went out and got another offensive piece. That was the flashy part, of course, but I just think it makes sense to look at D tackles in the first round as well as wide receivers.
Yeah, I hear you. So I'm sitting here round 2, and I don't have a lot of options here in terms of guys that I expected to be here. If you see here, Malik Willis went. I was thinking quarterback here. I was hoping Desmond Ridder would end up here. He goes to the Lions in the second round. So I'm thinking here, it says our needs are edge, interior defensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, and I'm guessing this is taking into account that they're thinking Clowney's not back.
I'm kind of operating the Clowney's back, though.
And that's how I'm thinking. So I already looked before you switched over to me, but I'm going to go D tackle. I'm going to take someone that was in the national championship game this year, Fedarian Mathis. I think him and the kid from Georgia, his name eludes me as of right now, but
Jordan Davis.
Yeah, those two guys are both guys I could.
Huge.
I think Davis is probably going to be in that first round or ahead of this pick. However, I still think that interior defensive lineman, like Jeff was going with his first pick, is a big need for us. It's obviously we've seen a couple teams you saw with the Steelers game where they kind of just got those last couple of yards that they needed against us running the ball. We weren't really able to stop it. And I think, you lost Sheldon Richardson and you lost Ogunjobi, who Jeff was talking about earlier. Like, the problem with our offseason last year was we upgraded at edge, but then we downgraded at both D tackle positions. In my mind, we thought Billings was going to do something coming off of that COVID year. Malik Jackson, he didn't really do much for us this year. He was a pass rusher guy, not a run stopper. And then, Malik McDowell, he was good, but I just don't think he was, what we needed him to be. Tommy Togiai never really came on. He came on towards the end of the season. I don't know that he did too phenomenal to justify not going out and getting another interior defensive lineman. Jordan Elliott, a guy who really has just been on and off for us. So I think interior defensive lineman is a must within the first 3 rounds for us.
Yeah, I agree. And there's some spicy picks there for you, but I am going to flip over to my side, and I'm going full nuclear atomic mode. I'm drafting Malik Willis in the second round, and I'm fully expecting him to start. I will be trading Baker Mayfield. Right after I make that pick, I'll be on the phone with anybody who wants to pick up. And, no wide receiver in the first 2 rounds. David Bell was there too. So that was a tough one for me. But at the end of the day, I'm sticking with my guns, and I'm thinking that I just don't want to pay Baker Mayfield $18 million. You know me.
So the interesting thing there that I saw was you had Malik and you had the kid from Nevada.
Yes, Carson Strong.
I'm surprised that. And
I don't know anything about him.
I don't know anything about him either. The only guys
Mechie was there too, so I was really torn. But I don't want to pick a guy. With the Browns' luck, I do not want to pick a guy coming off a major injury. Can they still be serviceable in the NFL? And this is what Winter and Derek's show. I didn't want to say this, but it's the Browns' luck. He'll come back and something else will happen to it. So I'll just try to stay away from all the bad juju. But will Williams and Mechie probably be really good wide receivers? They probably will be.
Yeah. So my thing with your pick with Willis is my only problem with it is just the fact that, and outside of knowing a lot about Ritter and probably knowing, more about Pickett and Sam Howell, unfortunately, I know more about Sam Howell than I probably should know about the kid from Ole Miss. But you went with a kid who has all the problems that were from the notes that I've read about him, all the same problems that Baker Mayfield has now.
But he has the big upside of mobility.
That's true. The mobility thing is true.
And I wish he was 6'4" too, as much as the next guy. And I don't want Lamar Jackson mobility. I want the kind of design chaos that the Bills run with Josh Allen, especially recency bias. If you saw them play the Patriots, they just snap them the ball and pull a blocker, and they're just do whatever you want. It's kind of crazy. It's tough to operate like that, especially with people trying to light them up. But I think that style of football is more sustainable than Lamar Jackson's, and I think his, he's the best candidate, is what they say.
From what I've seen of the notes from Malik is that he is built a little bit more than Baker or than a skinnier 6 tall player. Yeah, that's the only problem. So definitely a nuclear pick there for sure. I'm just I'm sitting here.
He's only an inch shorter than Corral though, so it's kind of negligible.
Yeah, 6 foot, 6'1". I don't know that there's too much of a difference there, but moving on from that, I'm trying to look here. We're starting to get into that murky area of all right, who do we know here and what positions? If you see here, a lot of stuff that we just don't need. Edge is a possibility. It's definitely a possibility here, depending on what you think is going to happen with Clowney. But we've also seen, and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, this is one of your guys I'm about to talk about, Porter Gustin. I don't know why he was on the practice squad. He played well.
Me neither.
And maybe they're operating off of the idea that Tack McKinley's not going to be back, which is, very likely. Yeah. However, I still think that the edge is okay as of right now. Obviously, you're hoping that Clowney, knock on wood somewhere, that what's it called? I might have knocked something down on my desk. I had to knock it down though. The problem is I'd rather operate with what we don't have than what we're thinking we're not going to have.
We're operating with Clowney. he earned it. I don't know if Andrew Berry's going to bite, but it's we're operating kind of that we're going to pay Denzel too, because that just seems like the most logical way. It's if we let Denzel walk, I might be looking at a cornerback in the second round. I don't know.
And so here's an interesting thing that we could get into is there's a lot of tight ends on this board right here as the top players. Could we operate off of the idea that Hooper is gone and we have David Njoku, Harrison Bryant, and Steven Carlson? Now, I'm going to be totally honest. I don't know any of these guys except for Jeremy from Ohio State. I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling drafting one of these guys in the third round, even if Hooper's gone, to be a third guy, I don't think going out, even though we run 3 tight ends, I don't think it's encouraged that we go out and we draft another kid to be third or fourth on this depth chart and not really have a lot of game for us. So I'm thinking here that I'm going to go with Brandon Smith from Penn State at linebacker. We don't know if we're going to bring back either Malcolm Smith or Anthony Walker. So we're going to be operating with Jacob Phillips, JOK, and then if we bring back Sione Takitaki, if we bring back Mac Wilson, there's a lot of guys at linebacker that we don't know if we're going to bring them back on 5th-year deals or if, Anthony Walker, 1-year deal, Malcolm Smith, 1-year deal. So I think linebacker is a logical choice there. Don't know that Brandon Smith is, the ideal linebacker that you want to go out and get, but I feel like we might start transitioning into, and I think we saw a lot of it this year, just the 2 linebacker set. So we just might need more depth than anything at linebacker, just in case, JOK goes down again or Jacob Phillips goes down again.
So I'm going crazy in the 1.0. And when I tweet this out, I can't wait to hear people call me a casual because how just untraditional this is going to look. But I'm going to get my craziness out of the way first.
Go for
and
it.
Trey McBride was available in your draft because I would have taken him. But I'm still going to do it. I'm taking Ruckert in the 3rd round.
Ooh.
I'm moving on from Hooper. And I'm paying Njoku, but we just it sounds annoying, but we literally just run too many 3 tight end sets that I'm a homer, and I kind of like Ruckert's game. I like Trey McBride's game more. He had 1,100 receiving yards at Colorado State this season on like 90 catches, so he's got good numbers. I would have taken him over that, but not a traditional first 3 picks from a lot of fans mock draft for the Browns. It is 1.0. It'll probably get refined and dialed in, but no wide receiver in the first 3 rounds. Definitely a little risky.
No wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, and I'm telling you that's gonna get people riled up.
I know
for sure.
Great.
You're gonna catch some flack. It's all right though. Man, dude, this is the problem. Now we're in the 4th round. I'm sitting here and I'm thinking best player available, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is still telling me edge, interior offensive lineman, and there's none of that on the board. Sam Williams from Ole Miss, but
why does it think we need an edge so bad? Because Clowney's not on the roster technically.
I think they're just operating off of the sense that Clowney's not there. McKinley was hurt this year all throughout, and so was Clowney. But my problem here is you could realistically see another wide receiver come off the board. Now, I don't know that there's a lot of these guys, and obviously this is 1.0, so Jeff and I haven't done a hell of a lot of research into a lot of these teams,
right?
And a lot of their guys. I was hoping I saw the Michigan State running back for some reason drop into the 3rd round in one of these drafts, and I was like, man, maybe he'll make it to the 4th round, because I would operate off of the idea that with Dearness Johnson coming on as strong as he did and Kareem Hunt being injured and everything, that there could be a potential move for the Browns to move Kareem off of the roster and maybe bring in a rookie that's an actual running back. Demetrick's the only guy that like really screws with that kind of line of thinking, just because maybe he could take on that 3rd running back role, but we saw him operate more out of the out of the slot. So here I'm going to have to go searching because I'm honestly not too happy. And so quick note here, I would love to do this pick because I played with this kid in an all-star game.
I was looking at him too.
Really well. He's on the opposite side of
Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, Sauce Gardner. And, man, I would love to take a cornerback. But there's no, Troy Hill, Greg Newsome, Greedy Williams, Denzel. If Dent's the only way you could go and justify a cornerback right now or anywhere right now is somehow Denzel Ward is not back, which I'm operating in the thought process that he is back. Man, I'm going to have a hard time here because I'm going to be searching for a minute. Jeff, do you have anyone on your board right now that you think is worth going out and getting? I would like to go and draft an offensive lineman to potentially be a swing guy at interior or maybe interior at tackle because of Jack Conklin being out, Jedrick Wills not playing as well as he did, or I don't know, because James Hudson, he did kind of well. It just, at this point in time, I want to take the best available, and I don't know who this Cade Uttington is, and I don't really know too much about Alec Pierce, and these are my 2 potentials. I don't know what to think here, Jeff.
Well, I could relieve you, but if you have somebody,
I'm just gonna take Pierce. I think you could see a real overhaul depending on what happens with Jarvis.
You could.
No Higgins coming back. I mean, I don't think it's realistic to get 2 wide receivers. It's just my lack of knowledge right now going into these later rounds is really starting to show. Hopefully, in the next month or in the next month when we do the next one, we'll both be a little bit more knowledgeable. Maybe this thing will have updated and we'll have a better, thought process for it. But for right now, I got 2 wide receivers, an interior defensive lineman, and a linebacker.
It's tricky, man. Like I said, after the third round, it gets a little tricky. Ashton's bringing up a good point. No wide receiver in the draft would have to be free agency. I think you see Andrew Berry do that, give out 1 or 2 year deals, kind of like how he's been doing on the defensive end, but just in the wide receiver room. And Derek is saying Willis in the second round. Probably not there. I would agree. But if anybody's going to slip that far out of this quarterback class, I think it's going to be him. So lightly realistic. So far, I just did a little minor research because I had the time while you were picking. And I'm going wide receiver. I'm going with Kyle Phillips from UCLA.
Finally.
Not startling numbers. Only 59 receptions for 739 yards for UCLA, but 10 touchdowns. So he only had 7 in his career before last year. So finding the end zone more, 5'11", 191 pounds. He's probably a little bit old for Andrew Berry's liking because I think it looks like he might have played 3 or 4 years of college, maybe 3. Redshirted as a freshman, maybe. Don't really know a whole lot about UCLA, but you see these good teams, you see these elite franchises. They get wide receivers in the 4th through 6th round and they're studs. Yeah. Deontay Johnson over in Pittsburgh. Antonio Brown was the same way. It's just such a plentiful position in the draft. But it's one of those things where if you can't, we kind of thought that's what Demetric Felton was going to be this year for us. Didn't pan out. He didn't get a lot of reps per se. But it's like you could probably find a diamond in the rough wide receiver 4th or 5th round compared to one of the better, interior defensive line prospects as we've seen this year with not a whole lot of trust in Tommy Togiai. He didn't play bad, but it's like, are we moving forward with him? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, we're seriously digging into the rough here. We also have another 4th round pick here towards the end of the round.
Oh, we do? We have another one? Jiminy Crickets.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see a trade up at some point. But,
definitely a trade.
It is tough to kind of get into this, discussion of like, all right, we're here. I think, Jeff, the interesting point, and obviously I'm trying to bide my time while I think of who to pick here. You brought up at the beginning that this roster, the fact that it's even drafting as high as it is, I wonder if you stay at 13 and maybe you come back into the 1st round and get another guy that, you just go all in. It's just something that, like, I think it would be very you. If we were able to, make these trades and everything, I feel like that would be a very you move because, like you said, it's like you've always thought in the process of, like, go now, go now, go now. And in order to do that, I mean, why not trade away capital? You definitely say that for the Cavs, and I can get behind that for the Browns this year. Unfortunately, that's not how this works, and I'm going off of what I know. So if you guys weren't on Twitter today, because I saw it today, MJ Stewart posted something on Instagram about I'm in Cleveland. He could be gone. And if you guys remember from last year, he was not a safety like he played in the last couple of weeks, which I thought was really interesting. I'm just going to go because I know Kobe. I'm going to say he's a Cleveland kid. We go out, we get the Cleveland kid, we bring him in, and we put him at safety because when you think about our guys at safety, Grant Delpit's going to be your starter over Ronnie Harrison, who's probably going to be gone. John Johnson, who plays a little bit more in the box. I think the problem is that both Delpit and Johnson are box guys. I think they fit into the box more than they play free safety. So I like the move of getting MJ Stewart to go back and play that free safety role and play a little bit more coverage. And so we play a lot of dime. We play a lot of nickel. Why not go out and get another coverage guy and try to, flex him over to that safety position? Maybe learn a little bit in case, in a couple years, Greedy's gone or, Troy Hill for some reason is gone or hurt or whatever it may be. But also have him flex to that safety position because you didn't see a lot of LeCount. It really seemed like LeCount was a liability when he was on the field, unfortunately. But at this point, like I said, I'm running out of ideas of what to do here. When you go to the team needs, I'm surprised that safety's not on here. Ronnie Harrison is off a deal this year, and it's not even in the line of thought, hey, go out and get a safety to have depth. Because who are your safeties? John Johnson, Grant Delpit, Javante Moffett, and Richard LeCount. So I think that's just me being a wishful thinker and also trying to go out and get the Cleveland kid. So
I think we'd be thrilled with that pick at 114, even if it's a cornerback or whatever he's going to play. Right. But yeah, it's just a position of need, and you see it with teams who just don't have a lot of cornerback depth. It's kind of the one position outside of offensive linemen where it really pays dividends to have a couple of guys who are serviceable off the bench, and I think that's where you saw a lot of our success this year with AJ Green. You know, when you see a team like, obviously the Ravens had a boatload of injuries, but like if a good quarterback identifies that you have a bad bench cornerback, it's just like they just attack them and target them the whole time. So Chuck Taylor says, you guys deserve more viewers. You work hard. Chuck, we appreciate that.
We appreciate that.
And if you're in chat, just fire off our link to one of your friends and say, hey, these guys do the Browns and the Cavs. And the worst they're going to say is, oh, that's pretty cool, and never watch us. So maybe you'll be spreading the word if you share our link and share our channel. But we really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Back over. Oh, not that. Don't stop the cam. Where we're at. Okay. So funnily enough, you have 3 defensive players, and I have 1. But I took the wide receiver late. But I'm going to take another reach here because Andrew Berry and a lot of GMs in the National Football League really look at age. I'm going to go Tyreek Smith, edge out of Ohio State, mostly because I'm a homer.
Listen, you're going more homer than I am this time around. I got Wilson.
I think he's old, and Andrew Berry don't draft people who are old. Yeah. So it's tough to find some of these kids' ages. Like, he's 22, so it might not be the end of the world.
But it's interesting to think about that because maybe he might start doing that with these later round guys. Why go out and get a young guy like a LeCount who seems to have some a little bit of personality issues instead of getting a guy that might be a little bit more mature? Now, I'm not saying anything that I don't know. It just seems that we saw him on healthy scratches for disciplinary reasons and such. So it's just a thought here. But you go edge there. I'm actually going edge with my next pick. A kid from LSU. I love my LSU guys. Jacob Phillips and what's it called from last year? Who is the guy that
Delpit?
Well, no, Delpit was 2 years ago. Delpit. Andrew Berry loves his LSU guys. Delpit, Jacob Phillips, and then there was the kid last year who got drafted by the Cowboys. They drafted 2 linebackers.
I don't remember who that was.
Right. It's tough. There's so many kids' names to remember nowadays, but I go edge here. I'm just taking the best available. This is, Tack McKinley's gone. You don't know what they're going to do with Porter Gustin, and you just need some backup guys just in case. So that's the pick in the 5th round. Holy mollies, we're getting into the 6th and 7th round. We're really not going to know what we're doing here. So what about you, Jeff? What are you doing 5th round?
Well, now I'm just in total random mode. And I'm gonna go Brian Cook from Cincinnati, a safety. Okay. I don't know who he is, but I do know that defense was pretty good, and they didn't get completely clobbered by Alabama. So they had good boundary defenders and cornerbacks, and they weren't getting totally destroyed over the top. So I'm cool with taking a Cincinnati defender, especially being in the top 4 as they were this season.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel of our
probably should have only done 5 rounds.
Yeah, but then, we'll come back next month and we'll have a completely different, view on some of these guys. We might think that some of these guys should go higher, lower, whatever it may be. But at this point, it's a matter of all right, you're drafting for team needs and such. I'm going to look at the offensive linemen. I don't see anyone. I'm honestly going to take the first offensive lineman I see. Offensive tackle, I'm trying to think. I mean, you just signed Wyatt Teller and you just signed Joel Bitonio to extensions. The only reason you might go interior offensive lineman is for a center. and obviously, Jeff, your guy was taken very early on, but I think an offensive tackle is probably more likely.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to think of good. I'm trying to think, Big Ten teams are typically very good offensive linemen based schools. A lot of good offensive linemen come out of Big Ten teams, but I don't know here. I'm looking, I'm just thinking I'm going to take the first guy off the board. 209 to 235 drop from the dude from Kentucky to the dude from Virginia Tech. I'm just going to do it. Obviously, like we said, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. But you gotta draft for needs, and obviously with Bill Callahan, any guy that you draft could turn out to be a stud later on, or at least a serviceable piece in our offense.
Dare Rosenthal. Okay, not bad. Yeah, I think you need a swing tackle. I think we're waiting on news for that from that too. Just another position like is what's Hubbard's situation? I mean, you give James Hudson another offseason. Are we going to kick Jedrick Wills over to the other side? It's kind of a mess as well. Kind of became a mess at the end of the year with the Conklin injury and things like that. So kind of some unexpected trials and tribulations for this Browns team moving forward. And I am going a wide receiver from Rutgers, Beau Melton. I have no idea who he is, but what do I like about projects as a possible specialist at the NFL level?
Yeah.
So
we need a darn kick returner, punt returner.
We need somebody who isn't Donovan Peoples-Jones on punts because he's not like he's slow. Like when he catches the ball flat-footed, he just looks slow. And Anthony Schwartz, as we saw this year, isn't big enough to kick return because he got hit once and he was gone for half the season. So I clicked on that guy's name. I like his name, Beau Melton, and I was all history from there when I read specialist.
I'm trying to look at some of these top running backs right now just to try and get a sense for who could potentially be that guy that we get as a replacement. I'm honestly not seeing a whole lot that I love here. I'm just going to pick the kid from Oklahoma, Eric Gray. Again, we don't know what the situation is going to be with Kareem Hunt. He could be a potential trade piece, or I believe Dearness Johnson is going to be up for contract, is a restricted free agent. So who knows? We might need another running back to kind of replace either a Kareem Hunt or a Dearness Johnson. So
that
was my mock draft.
We'll come back. Because I have one more pick.
Yeah. Well, let's see what you get up here.
This is where I kind of take a flyer on somebody.
Right.
I kind of like running back as well, but.
So you have wide receiver, safety, edge, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, interior defensive lineman. Mm-hmm. You didn't pick a single linebacker.
No.
Interesting.
Which I guess we could take Joshua Ross. No analyst reports found. Okay, that's probably not good. See, like a lot of these guys are seniors.
Right.
Just not buying that Barry's going to like that.
Yeah, I can totally understand that line of thought.
But you got to pick somebody eventually.
Yeah, unless you're trading these picks, but we all know how that works. And in total, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players that we get to draft as of right now. 3 picks in the top 100. 103 is your next pick. So it's always the one thing that's been said in these drafts is your first 2 rounders should be starters. In some way, they should be starters or impact players, whether that's, they're rotational or they're doing something that's, impactful on their side of the ball. Your 3rd and 4th round guys are hopefuls in terms of being impact players. Maybe special teams guys, like I think Anthony Schwartz was supposed to be that kind of guy. And then after that, you're kind of just going off of, all right, do we have something planned for them? Do we have something that we like them to do, or are we just taking the best available?
Yeah, that's definitely just kind of how it goes. And we were a little optimistic even last year, I think, with some of our picks. I'm going to take Merlin Robertson from Arizona State just because, like you said, I think linebacker, I did kind of neglect that position. And with Anthony Walker up in the air, you never know. So you might as well bring in somebody at the last pick.
All right, so Jeff went nuclear with his picks, obviously, and I went a little bit more, I think, what most people would say is conservative. I would say I feel like I did nothing out of line of what could be in the realm of possibility. I think Jeff, took it a little bit further than I expect. I didn't think a second round linebacker or a second round quarterback for him would be the ideal situation. I think he was hoping for that first round quarterback with Pickett, but I go out, I get the fan favorite. Everyone's going to love me. I get Garrett Wilson, of course. And then I just kind of go from there, and I get guys from programs for the next 3 to 4 picks that are, serviceable. Obviously, an Alabama kid, you can never go wrong there. We've seen Penn State linebackers in the past do very well. And I picked 2 kids from Cincinnati. Obviously, I went and picked another homer with Kobe. So, all in all, I'd probably give myself like a B+. Honestly, I don't know where a lot of these guys are going to shape up. I don't think Mathis probably falls to us that late, but we definitely saw guys like Christian Barmore last year, who we all thought was a first rounder, who was a potential pick at 26 last year for us, go in the second round, and JOK. So these guys could fall. A couple guys could fall, or they could get drafted a little bit higher than we think. But I think sitting there, I like how my draft shook out for at least the first 4 picks.
Yeah, for sure. Screenshot that. Make sure you screenshot that and send it to me, because I'll be sending it out on Twitter, and we can hold on to them for future value, because I already got mine in the bag. I'm giving my draft an ugly B-, just because it's 1.0. It's an A with the Marvin Leal. Nobody would be thrilled, but it is. It's an A there. And if we save, $25 million by shedding Keenum and Baker Mayfield, and Malik Willis took us to the playoffs, it would be an A+. But is that hyper realistic? I would say probably not. But that's just what I was given, the hand that we were dealt. I am hoping that the Draft Network does update this. I think they have some guys going a little bit too early, Jameson Williams being one of them. But, man, everything's pretty thematic. I would take a tight end in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Like you said, I'd rather take quarterback in the 1st round. But if Leal is there, you're going to be hard-pressed as Andrew Berry to be like, well, you can't really go wrong. Either Garrett Wilson or him there. And then just trying to find some luck and some depth, try to find a 4th or a 5th or a 6th round wide receiver who busts onto the scene and some hidden gem. I mean, where's our scouting? Where's our luck with stuff like that? Every other team in the league, or especially in our conference, seems to be able to figure it out. The Steelers have a great draft history with wide receivers somehow. Deontay Johnson coming out of Toledo. So it's just one of those things where, I don't know, the wide receiver class seems really deep. You might be missing people in the later rounds with all the hype around the top prospects.
Yeah. I think the one interesting thing is that, unfortunately, I know with PFF that a lot of people like to use PFF as a draft indicator. Me and Jeff didn't like the rankings they had at the current moment.
No.
But
they're hype machines at PFF.
Yeah, they do give out grades, which would have been interesting to be like, all right, what is this Draft Network think that we did overall as a team? But I think, I go with a B for me. And obviously that's more because of I just don't know how some of these guys actually are and what their actual value is. But I went for what our need was at that time. So, and Jeff going with a B-, being a little bit modest maybe, but he could be right. If his chances work out with, quarterback 2nd round and not drafting a wide receiver until 4th or 5th round, then who knows?
The picks would be a B-, probably even a C+ if we're being honest. But the amount of money saving would be an A because we'd be shedding 2 quarterbacks and we'd be shedding Hooper. Yeah. So that's plus we have $10 million rollover cap, which I sent to you earlier. Which is interesting.
That's interesting.
So if you save, 18 with Baker, 7 with Case, 10 with Hooper, or I don't even know how much dead cap Hooper is. It might not even be that much, but it's like $30 million. I mean, you're not going out there and getting a Devontae Adams or a Godwin, I don't think, I don't know if they'd want to come here. I don't know if we'd want to pay them. A lot of factors going against you there, but you would have the capital open to even make a move if somebody isn't committed there, like a Russell Wilson, like an Aaron Rodgers, if there's even a glimmer of hope that you can move for somebody like that.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff, I think that's all we got for this one. You have anything before we call it quits?
No, that's a good start. That's a mock draft at middle of January.
That's your Browns 1.0 way too early Cleveland Pulse mock draft. We'll be doing this every month. I don't know that we'll be doing it on the same exact date, but we will have a new mock draft probably sometime around this, date and time next month. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for sticking around with us, commenting. We do appreciate all those comments. Make sure if you guys are watching the VOD that you guys are subscribing, liking, leaving comments, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.